G'day viewers, Peter here, how are they hanging? This is part two of the rotting carport repair video, I suppose you could call it. I've, since the last video, which was some weeks ago, I've been to Greece. I had a family holiday in Australia and then we went to Greece for 6 weeks. We went to 4 islands and went to a place called Meteora. Highly recommended if you're ever out that way. But anyway, back to the job. So I got back and now I've got to fix this carport and there's no excuses. So I suppose I've got, I don't know what's interesting to you, but can you see, I don't know if you can see how much that's sagging. So what I have done, I've done a little bit of demolition here. We had a water suppression system, I don't know if you can see here, for fighting bushfires. There's a 2-inch pipe that supplies all of this, and there was this inch pipe that you can see has been cut off, and eventually I'll probably take that internal one down, but my thinking is that it's actually holding these things equidistant. Well, I don't know how equidistant they are, knowing the previous builder, but so I've got the water pipes gone, this electricity for supplying a sensor motion detected light. I've removed that. I don't think you can see up in there. That used to be along here. So now I've bought the material. We've got a chain of hardware stores called Bunnings here in Australia, and they sell timber, but I preferred to go to a little local supplier called Van Steensel's near me, and they always have high quality timber. It's a little bit dearer, but it's dimensionally accurate, it's straight, and the H3 protection, whatever chemicals they immerse it in to give you the rot protection, is up to scratch. All right, I trust them. So that's what that's where I bought my timber, and sometimes I think it's worth paying. Look, we'll look at the existing timber. I don't know what you can see. What have we got here? Can you see any of this? I mean, look at this. How good is that? And see these joins here? It's made up of freaking rubbish off the floor. Look at that. Fucking, what a wonderful piece of timber that is. Structurally sound. Now, I'm not going to use these metal brackets because I'm old. I'm a fat old grey-haired bastard. So, I tend to do things different. And my background is a pattern maker. Now, pattern makers worked 12th hour or something in wood, which is pretty hard with a chisel in your hand and a plane. And carpenters work to about 3 mil. I mean, look at this. I've got a Mitutoyo vernier. It can measure to 1/1000th of an inch. I mean, what carpenter uses a Mitutoyo vernier? And I'll tell you why in a minute. Or actually, it's probably easier to show you, is it? I think that's... What I'm going to do here is I'm not going to use these metal brackets. So I'm going to double up and have 2 pieces of wood. It's probably easier to show you. So what have I been doing today? I've cut a couple of pieces of wood to length. So this piece on the bottom is dimensionally similar to what's there, and then this piece I've bought, and what you can see is what I'm going to do, I'm going to bolt this, I haven't decided where yet, with stainless steel bolts to link these two to make one piece of timber. Now I might have to lift it up in 2 stages because it'll be too heavy. I don't know how I'm going to lift it up yet. I've got to get one of my sons or my wife's son to give me a hand because it's going to be too heavy, but I might do it in 2 pieces. And as you can see, I've cut this out with the Bosch jigsaw. Now, these are available. I've got a couple of these actually, and I've had these since 1982, and great machines. They look like they don't work properly because there is a model that you can buy that has a handle up here, more typical to a jigsaw, and I've actually bought one of those. I bought one at a pawn shop for $20, but only for parts because they're mechanically the same. But the handle up here, I think it's because your handle is so far from the work. When you've got your hand wrapped around here, you are so close to the blade. As you can see, it's only a couple of inches, and you can control the thing. Whereas if your hand is up here, you're like 6 inches from the blade. And I don't know, anyone that's ever used both of these machines always gravitates towards this one. And so that's the machine I use, and I've had it since 1982, so that's 40 something years. And I've actually got a couple of them, and I've got a D-handle one for parts. So measuring out, as I said, I'm a pattern maker. Look, what carpenter uses a metal rule? Look at this, a marking gauge. Now, as you can see here, I did this, and I did that with a marking gauge. Can you see the line? Actually, what can we see here? I don't know if you can see the line. I might have to get the light right because I don't know what you can see. Actually, if you want to, you can grab your texter. In Australia, this is a texter. In America, what do they call it? A Sharpie. What do they call it in England? Maybe a felt tip pen. I don't know. But I can't see anything because I haven't got my glasses on. But if we pick this up, I have to put my glasses on so I can see. Sorry, don't get old, I don't recommend it. Yeah, so if we do this, that'll help me to see it when I'm using the jigsaw. Now, if I really wanted to, I could cut this with a knife and stop the furry edge. But hey, what else did I do that a carpenter wouldn't do? I laid this out. You can see the pinpoint there, actually. I laid that out. I laid that out with the dividers. Because if I allowed 3 mil each side, which is what a carpenter would do, that would make this hole 6 mil. And I know there'd be no trouble with that dropping in place, but 6 mil seems like a lot to a pattern maker, but it probably doesn't matter. Although I do want to try and stop it from laying over, and that is part of the purpose of this, why I got the board so wide. So I've allowed a little bit of clearance, but not much as a pattern maker, and I do trust my measurements. But if I'm swearing, you'll know in the next video if it worked or not. But so I've cut it out. So, well, the other thing too, where's my piece of paper and my bit of wood? The thickness of well, you saw the verniers out there. The thickness of the joist was 51.3, 46.3 and 52.1. So as you can see, that one is a lot thinner. These two are much the same, although it's a millimetre difference. But that one's, the difference between that and that is what, 6 mil or something. So I've made that one narrower. And then this was the centres, and again the previous builder, they're higgledy-piggledy, so you've got to work to, you might be able to see that better, can you? Can you see that nice sharp line Got to use my, see this, you don't see these, it made in Australia, 4-inch. It was only $1.75 when it was new. That's a Carter. Carter was a company in Australia. Just after the war they started up, I think. It's World War II. And they made vices and G-clamps and planes. Actually, I got a Carter plane. So I suppose they're a iron foundry. And they made equipment. And I mean, look at that. It's, you know, probably 80 years old or something. And still works. And it's just a good product, never been broken. What else can I show you? I talked about that. The dividers, that's from my pattern making days. I suppose this marking gauge I made when I was an apprentice, 16 years old. You can see it's a piece of brazing, can you see that? It's a piece of brazing rod, and we call it brazing rod. What is it? Silver bronze? You know, when you bronze weld something, and you can see it's got a 3/16 Whitworth knob on it, and the piece of wood, that might be interesting. So that piece of wood, that is lignum vitae, and that comes from the South American swamps. It's very heavy. If you put it in water, it sinks, and you can't hammer a nail into it. It's as hard as fuck. And yeah, it's as hard as a groom's prick. And I've just got one of my mentors when I was an apprentice. You can't see that, can you? One of my mentors, he gave me a little packet of gramophone needles, you know, the old 78 records, and the gramophone used to use, I think you had to replace it every 5 records or something. So it's a hard bit of steel. It's fucking hard as hell. But the dockyard, I worked at the Naval Dockyard, Williamstown, and we used to buy lignum vitae. You'd buy it by the ton, not by a super feet. It's actually a beautiful looking wood if you shellac it. And we used to use it for propeller shafts on the ships, for bearings underwater, you know, in the A-frame at the back of the ship, and also where it disappears into the hull through the eddy plates. And they used to have lignum vitae strips in there as bearings. When I was there in 75, we replaced them with rubber, but we still use lignum vitae, and we used to do a lot of it. It's heavy as hell. You can't chainsaw it or anything. Like, where a tree, if you've got a tree that's 12 foot long and 3 foot diameter and weighs 3 or 4 tons, you can't pick it up and put it on the machine, and you can't chainsaw it. So we had to get, you know, the 2-man crosscut saw. And because I was the apprentice, I had to run down and get it sharpened about every 30 minutes because we'd blunt it. But I'd jump on the end of that, and yeah, I used a 2-man crosscut saw, and we'd cut that into blocks about 1 foot long, and then we'd have to cut it sideways until you could get something you could pick up, you know, something like 80 or 100 kilos. And I can remember oftentimes be 4 or 5 men on a circular saw that was like 3 foot diameter, and we're pushing a piece of wood through, and yeah, anything that went wrong, you're going to have some deaths there or amputations. Yeah, so in the end, we didn't use it for propeller shafts bearings, but the Type 12 destroyers that I used to work on, I think had 13-inch propeller shafts, and the bearings were then rubber, but where the eddy plates were and the propeller shaft disappeared into the hull, there's a protective shield around there if they picked up a rope or a fishing net or an anchor chain or something, because it would wrap around the propeller shaft and damage all the seals and let water into the hull. So all of the edges of the eddy plates are all covered with lignum vitae. So that's so I don't know what's interesting to you, but I thought that was a little bit interesting. But so, you know, what carpenter in the world uses a jigsaw like that and dividers and a steel rule? I mean, look at the size of the square. I mean, I've got a little 12-inch square, but why did I use a big square? Because the sample, if I use a 12-inch square, the sample that of this reference, the sample of this reference surface is about 4 inches long, but if I use this square, your reference sample is what, 14 inches long. And I mean, I made that when I was about 17. And again, I'm a pattern maker. It's a piece of sugar pine. Look at that. You don't see sugar pine much anymore. And because I'm a pattern maker, I know that's dead on. You know, no fucking around. I trust that more than I trust a little 12-inch square. So that's what I've been up to today. So we'll see how it goes. And I don't know what the future holds, but yeah, I don't know if you can see that terrible job and the quality of the timber. I mean, look at this. Yeah. Yeah. Fuck knows what's going to happen, eh? Who knows? Fuck knows. All right, I'll say hooroo. Bye-bye.